Like, the CIA doesn't need to hire anybody because she's doing it for us.
Free Talk Live.
Watching us online on YouTube, go ahead, Paul.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. What's on your mind tonight?
Good, nothing. I wanted to talk about the Yellow Vest as well.
Yep.
Well, you had a callers calling in about Israel and 9/11, and my wife's actually we've been married for 2 years, and she's Jewish. And the crazy thing about it is she's actually been going to her local synagogue, and she's been inspiring other Jews to read a book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, because
I've heard of this. Isn't this an anti-Jewish screed?
No, she's Jewish. She's Jewish. That's what you're missing out. Like, there's a lot of Jews that are speaking up about this because the facts are, she's got relatives in France, and a lot of people in the media aren't covering it. But there's actually Jews that this Yellow Vest protest. This comes down to Jewish banking, and she's got relatives.
Wait a minute.
How does Jewish banking differ from Christian banking?
Well, here's the deal. Listen, she's a Jewish woman, okay?
You keep saying that over and over again as though it's going to make it okay, whatever the next thing is that comes out of your mouth.
I'm married to her, all right? I'm invested, is what I'm saying.
Okay, but you didn't answer the question.
The fractional reserve banking, it's all. If you look at all the CEOs, Janet Yellen,
all of the CEOs,
Greenspan.
They don't have CEOs, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yellen was actually the chairman of the Federal Reserve. But are you making the distinction between Zionism and Judaism?
Well, here's the deal. If we talk about Zionism just goes down to Israel. There's Marxist Jews, which she opposes. There's Marxist Jews that oppose Zionism, the commies. You know what I mean? Those guys aren't for Israel. There's Chabad Lubavitch. Do you know that sect of Judaism, or are you guys just unaware?
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to all of the details of world religions because, for the most part, it's immaterial to my life.
I'm telling you for my wife, she's been protesting against the synagogues because the rabbis, after the circumcision, they have a thing called a moil, where they put their mouths on the baby's penises after circumcision, and it's legal. And now babies are getting herpes and they're dying, okay? So if you want to make this a laughing matter or call people anti-Semitic for Jews that are actually sticking up against...
Nobody has called anybody anti-Semitic on this show.
You called your other people, the other people that called in and talked about facts about 9/11, you hung up on them, called them conspiracy theorists, and I have a Jewish wife, and she's doing the damn same thing.
Well, I don't know.
You're calling out people.
Yeah, you're really you're getting a little shrill there, dude. You know, we tried to have a conversation with you, and you didn't want to answer the question. Because, Rich, you asked a good question about what's the difference between so-called Jewish bankers and Christian bankers. And the fact is, banks are run by people who are of different religious viewpoints.
Definitely true. Now, there is, Zionism is a different matter. There are also Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists, and there are also Christian anti-Zionists and Jewish anti-Zionists. You know, there are a lot of Jews who don't hold with Israel and the things that Israel does. I've actually had somebody pushing me. And somebody that I respect to read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and I haven't done it yet.
The last time that book was mentioned,
the
last time that book was mentioned, it was mentioned by somebody who we used to call Scott the Bigot, who used to call into this show on a fairly regular basis with some pretty despicable viewpoints, and he used to be a big fan of that particular book.
And now he's just Scott, I think.
Well,
okay, as he become not a bigot? Or?
He did seem to renounce toward the end of his calling career of Free Talk Live.
I haven't heard from him since.
He hasn't called since then, yeah. That caller did drop off the line. I was going to bring him back. I just had to put him on hold because he just wouldn't stop talking.
Yeah, and so one of the annoying things is kind of making bad arguments for good conclusions. Fractional reserve banking is horrible and it should be ended.
Right. But to blame it on Jewish people is ridiculous.
But if you're going to say fractional reserve banking and Zionism and some secret book and so now you're making bad arguments that you can't even back up.
Yeah.
So you're making the premise seem ridiculous. Like, the CIA doesn't need to hire anybody because she's doing it for them. Like, fight against fractional reserve banking. Yeah, if I could just make every central banker on Earth be instantly located in the middle of the sun, I would. I don't care what religion or race they are.
Yeah, it's just this...
And I think it's more about what race they are, but I don't care.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's race or religion or what. I mean, there's just, as far as I know, there's nothing in the Torah that says anything about fractional reserve banking.
Yeah, the Old Testament at least kind of forbids to some extent loaning
usury
as a concept. So banking, I think, would be prohibited by that. Banking as we know it.
Actually, one of the ironic things that I learned while I was reading The Merchant of Venice by Shakespeare is the character Shylock was a Jew, and he was also a usurer or a moneylender. Well, the reason that he was a moneylender is in Italy at that time, there were only a few professions that Jews were allowed to enter into, and one of them was banking because Christianity forbade. At that time, Christianity also forbade,
but not anymore,
lending money at interest. So it was like, okay, let's make the Jews do it because it's embarrassing to them because it's against their religion too, basically. And then, people get upset that the Jews ended up with power in banking. Well, maybe you should have thought about that 400 years ago.
These people, like the last couple of callers, they're just so boring. I mean, the idea is just the same old concept over and over again. Jews this, Jews that, Jews over here, Jews over there. It's all a conspiracy, and it's just as paranoid as all the other conspiracy theorists out there. It's just they've picked their bad guy, and they've made it this particular religion.
Yeah, well, it's like calling the CIA a white conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, most of the guys running the CIA were white. Certainly all of the guys running the CIA in 1930 were white.
So it's a white male conspiracy.
Yeah, but, it doesn't necessarily, I'm certainly not in on the joke.
Right.
CIA will just as happily come after me as anybody else.
Let's go to Rudy in Arizona, listening to K-Talks. Go ahead, Rudy.
Hey, gentlemen.
Hey.
The CIA wasn't around in 1930. They came in 1947, but that's not what I called.
That's true. OSS back in the day.
The guy that was talking about the protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Yeah.
1922. It was proven to be a forgery. It's counterfeit.
Really?
It was put together. There's a whole big history to it. But I've read that thing, and oh my God, you talk about it's insane. Every anti-Semitic you could possibly believe is in there.
Yeah.
It's just pathetic. But it is false. It's not true. But I'll tell you one thing. Henry Ford loved it. He imported 30,000 copies of it. And he was...
Who did?
Henry Ford, you said.
Oh, yeah. Henry Ford was a well-known anti-Semite.
Rudy, thanks for clearing that up. I don't know if you had more you wanted to say, but if you did, you can hang on and we can bring him back. If not, no problem. Thank you for the call tonight. You can bring up anything that you want here. Our numbers, 850.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.